There's Beth.
We have everyone.
You're muted, Beth.
It is 7:06 and you are now live.
Okay. Good evening, Parks and Recreation Commission. I do believe we have everyone here. Today is Monday, March 1st, 2021, for our Zoom Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. I'll go through the roll call at this point. Chair Beth Ashbaugh.
I think she's muted, Carolyn.
I do too. Vice Chair Carolyn.
Present. Hi.
Hello, I'm present. Commissioner Brett Heidel. Brett.
He's muted.
Okay. Commissioner Brett Heidel. Our new commissioner, we would like to welcome William Trevor Huntsman.
Hello, present.
Welcome, Trevor.
Okay. Commissioner Libby Cudmore.
Hello, present.
Okay. And council member Katie Lapari-Shu. I'm nodding. And Parks Administrator Lou Lansing.
Present.
And we also have joining us this evening is Engineer Greg Mattice.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Greg.
Okay. At this point, I guess, unfortunately, Beth, we did not get our agenda nor the minutes from the February meeting out to our commissioners. So we will defer that approval for that last meeting at our next meeting.
Do you need this one?
Next, we have Lou Lansing. Generally will give us her Parks Administrator report, although this particular meeting,
There's not a lot to
forgo
report.
that.
We're kind of in between things. I will tell you that we did have our first dog park committee meeting on February 18th. And poor Beth and Trevor and Greg had to suffer through that meeting that I was leading. We went through a lot of potential rules, about 2 pages of rules for the dog park. I do have it narrowed down to 1 page, so hoorah, we'll talk about that. We meet again on March 31st, Wednesday, March 31st at 7. So we're starting to get that rolling. And Greg has volunteered to join us for that meeting to talk a little bit about the build, because there were some questions about the materials that we were using for that facility. So that's about all I have for now, Carolyn. But, you know, we can talk more about some of these priorities later.
Okay,
So
Lou, could you just repeat for me when you had the dog park meeting, the Zoom meeting, what date that was again?
it was February 18th, and we meet again March 31st.
Okay, and the next meeting is March 31st. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
And at that point, you talked a little bit about a general idea of rules, an outline of rules that eventually.
Yeah, we talked about what the idea was behind the committee, that it's a advisory committee to the city. And we wanted input on what they thought about rules for the facility. And so that's basically what we spent a long time on. Okay. So anyway, we have many, many more things to cover, but that's what we started with.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry. Do we have any petitioners this evening?
No, I just will let you know that we have approved the Oneonta Little League to use Rich Murphy Field, and the other field they're going to start to build. We have allowed them, they've supplied all the paperwork they need to and insurance and all of that. They went through all the channels they needed to do and have a very, very thorough safety plan in line. So we felt it was good to let them move ahead with that. And they will start prepping their field and preparing for their spring season.
Okay.
So,
What field again?
Rich Murphy Field, which is in Swart Wilcox, historic Swart Wilcox Park. And we also gave them another field, which will eventually be a minor field beside of Rich Murphy Field.
So they have been given the approval. When do they begin, Lou? What's their start?
I think, honestly, Carolyn, I can't remember the exact date. They're going to start prepping the field sometime in March. It might be April 1st, but I honestly can't remember the date.
Okay. And
Brett,
typically,
do you know?
No, actually, I was going to ask, is this the thing that we were talking about a couple of months ago about the old soccer fields being turned into baseball fields?
Soccer field, I don't remember that.
Okay.
oh, Brett, I think I know because I'm just familiar with that area. Where the former adult soccer league used to play.
Yeah.
Those fields next to Riverside School are two fields that we had, Lou, way back.
That's Swart Wilcox. And
Yes.
basically what we decided to do there is give a piece of land next to Greg designed another field beside of Rich Murphy Field,
Okay.
so that Oneonta Little League could expand, because they have a lot of children in that program right now. And we still have room for one soccer field there.
Okay.
And, but right now we're not going to be using that, because I think we're going to put the soccer group that wants to use the park, if we allow them use of the park, will probably be in Catella.
Okay. Other than that, there were no other petitioners for.
I didn't have anyone, no.
Okay. Correspondence? Any correspondence for this evening?
Not that I have, no.
Nope.
I don't either. No one's corresponded with me. Anyone else? Hear from any of our constituents of any concern at all? So at this point, none. Okay. Would you like to move right into old business?
Last month we had the dog park on old business, but I guess that's still, do we just want to talk about it? Anything else with the dog park, Lou, or is that it for right now?
I think that that's it for right now. And,
Yeah.
Trevor was there. I think he heard most of it. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've got some comments, Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor.
Yeah, no, I don't have much to say about it right now. I mean, I know we went over a lot. I think it just needs to be slimmed down, basically, to get the rules done before anything else happens.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
And
Yeah, we've got lots to talk about with the dog park. I was just a little bit to tell you about. I was on a website over the weekend with dog park. It's one of the top 10 dog parks in the United States. It's in Colorado. It's 25 acres just for dogs, 25 acres. And yeah. And I mean, they had some wonderful ideas about what they do to clean their dog park. They have 2 annual cleanings at the beginning of their season in the spring and at the end of their season in the fall. They have some really wacky, fun ideas to get volunteers out to clean the park, which I'm going to give to our group the next time we talk. So, I think we just may steal some of those ideas to get the community more involved in a little less cleanup for our Parks and Recreation staff. So anyway, I don't know why I had to add that, but to make things interesting.
That's a fun fact. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, and that was one of the big concerns was how to, how to maintain it, how to keep it clean, how to, maintain order, and, how do you enforce all that? So, I mean, I think that's a pretty significant issue. So,
Yes.
that's
And
definitely.
we were really, really fortunate that Tim Kuzo, who is, and I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but he is the parking enforcement and animal control officer for the city. He joined our committee, and, he's going to be a great liaison for us and help us to stay on track with that group, what we can do and what we can't do, and what he might recommend. He gave some great ideas at the first meeting, and I'm sure he'll be a big help to that committee.
I don't really recall when I did read this, but can anybody corroborate? Did Chuck D'Imperio write an article about the benefits of having a community dog park? Did anybody else see his column?
Yes.
Okay, so I did read something recently, and I felt that was a very positive and very well, as he always does, written article about how the dog park will really add to our community and all the other wonderful resources, events, and programs that we have, not only for the city, but also in the Parks and Recreation as well. So I thought that was a good timing for
Nice
that.
positive boost. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And then to have other ideas from other places, really should be able to put something together that will solidify this long overdue dog park. Greg, could I just ask you a question? The actual physical building of that, is there an anticipated date? Again, we may have asked that in the past, as far as construction.
Not specifically. I mean, this
Okay.
late spring, summer, it could certainly be built. DPW has already done some grading work down there. There's some more to be done, but the main thing is putting a fence and a concrete pad right where the entrance will be. Obviously, another concern is that it's not technically in the budget this year that council passed, but the intent for funding the project was to fund it through the Parks and Recreation Reserve, which would, whether it's in the budget or not, would require an additional council motion to take that money out of the reserve and spend it on this. So
Okay.
final cost estimates, we'll have to go to the council and ask them to approve that whenever that is.
Thank you.
But it seems there's plenty of support. Maybe Katie can speak to that a little bit too, but there seems to be plenty of support on the council and from the mayor to do the project this year.
Yes, yes, thank you. Next, new business. Have any new business?
Hope.
Would under new business, would opening or reopening use of facilities in our parks be part of new business? Possibly.
I don't know, Carolyn. Maybe you could put them anywhere you wanted to. So, but I don't really have anything to report on that because we have not made any decisions yet. So,
Okay.
Okay.
So even the recent field requests, they're still all on to be announced as far as.
yeah, everyone who's made a request so far, it has been entered on our parks calendar. So they're there.
Yes. Mhm.
But And the reason I put them in there is so that our parks crew can see them and know what they have to do to prepare. Because we have to prepare regardless, even if we slim down our numbers or whatever, we still have to prepare fields and park facilities and those things. So, but I have not issued any, we have not issued any park permits. Carrie has not done, the clerk's office has not done any pavilions yet. In fact, we've put pavilions traditionally, even though they really don't come through this commission,
Right.
pavilions can, city residents can traditionally start requesting pavilions this month. For the first 3 weeks of March, city residents can. However, we have pushed that back a month until we make all the decisions on how we're going to open facilities and, what we're going to do with safety plans and those kinds of things. So those won't be looked at until April 1st. That's why I said by the time we meet in April, hopefully we'll have a plan in place that I can share with all of you.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? At this point, Louise, do you think we should have some input from Greg Mattice
Well,
about our master plan?
Yeah, I think Greg should talk about what he sent us, and I think that's a good way to get started. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people, I mean, besides Greg and I, pretty much everyone's new to this group.
Yes. Mhm.
And so maybe, Greg, talk about some of these priorities, why they came on, and, maybe some of the new business at the end of this will be some of you have recommendations for things that aren't on this list that you want to add for future reference or whatever. So Greg, all you.
Yeah. Thanks, Lou. So everyone received what Lou forwarded, the Neo Park Master Plan update. It was originally, I don't know, done in the 90s, updated a few times since then. The most recent official or formal update involving an architect, the LA group, was done in 2013. And since then, we've done a couple of updates. I think it was 2018, we had a subcommittee from the City Council Planning Committee. Brett was involved in that, I believe, some people from this commission. And we just went through and kind of prioritized some of the items that are on the Newell Park Master Plan, as well as some other things that had come up since then, as well as some things outside of Newell Park. There's really only a formal master plan for Newell Park, but obviously we have Wilber Park, we have Maple Street Park, and other recreational opportunities. So that's what the other attachment is, the list. That's what we came up with originally in 2018. It's been updated. I've just updated it myself based on feedback from Lou and others from discussions at this commission, as well as the committee and council level. And the last time I updated it was actually last fall as part of the budget process. So, I mean, I'm not going to go through every single item there. Of course, you guys can take whatever time you'd like to read through that if you haven't already, and ask questions. I mean, certainly we could attack it any number of ways. We could look at just maybe tonight we just look at what's on the docket for this year or the next couple of years specifically, maybe talk about some things if you have any specific questions. I guess I'm looking for a little feedback from you guys, how you want to look at it. Have you had a chance to review it already or not?
Okay. So there's like short-term, mid-term, and long-term projects.
Yes.
Going on.
Yeah. Down it basically into a 2021 through 2025. That's our 5-year capital improvement plan that we do for things more than just recreation, parks and recreation, but this is specifically the parks and recreation projects. You'll see there's some smaller projects on there. For instance, gates to secure baseball field, dugouts, and that's a small item. It's not really a capital improvement plan item, but we have some of those items on here too, just to track them. Something like the Newell Park basketball court number 2 lighting upgrade. That's something that's being done as part of the street light replacement project that the city's doing. So there's really, no decisions to be made there. That's just something that's in progress. Same with the converting the Niwa tennis courts to permanent pickleball courts. That's done, aside from some hiccups we had where the contractor will have to come back and corrections in the spring. Same with the Wilber tennis courts and the basketball courts. If you look ahead, you see the dog park, Hodges pond improvements, which we hope to get done this year. Get further out, you'll see things that are, I think this list actually goes out. It's more than a 5-year plan. I just put everything out there until like 2043.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's all obvious. I took everything from the Wilber Park master plan and everything I could think of and put it somewhere. Obviously, things are going to change quite a bit between now and 20 years from now. So the real important thing to look at is the next 5 years and how things fall in there. Even that is uncertain. You look at 2025. There's stadium lighting, LED retrofit, third bit. All these Damaski Field renovations in the $1 million+ range. That had funding identified for it at this point. That's something we'd have to figure out. So generally, as you guys look through this, either tonight or any other time, if you feel that something is not appropriately prioritized as you would see it, we can talk about that and move it around. Or if you have specific questions, what is this project or that project? What's it entail? Let's take a closer look at it. We can do that however you like. And ultimately, your recommendations are going to be figured into when I update this. I'll take those into account and make sure that the council committees and the council as a whole are aware of them as we go to budget things in the next year.
Okay.
Great. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
Oh, thanks. I just have a follow-up question about a lot of those Damaski repairs or repairs, retrofits, upgrades. How I guess I'm trying to figure out my question. It's about funding, right? And what the involvement of our current lessee is on those. Do they contribute in any way, or how do we bring them in? Because so many of those things are obviously make it more attractive for them to lease on the one hand, but they're also pretty strictly for their benefit at this point. So I'm just wondering if there's any sort of mutual obligation there.
Really that's up for discussion. The way the lease is structured now, it's an annual lease. There's an amount that's been determined. Certainly I would say that if we made significant improvements, that should be reflected in the lease somehow, because theoretically those improvements would help attendance, help basically the business that's being run there. But ultimately it's going to come down to what can the Outlaws afford to pay to operate. Of course, anything we're doing is trying to hopefully encourage more success there, but I guess that's up for discussion in the future.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, part of what the Damaski master plan entails, like you said, Katie, is making it more attractive, making it somewhere that more than just a diehard baseball fan wants to go watch baseball game. That one of the things that we might be able to get done this year as part of another project is the Outfield Walkway, where they actually would, the Outlaws would like to move the fence in a little bit, make it more exciting, more home runs, that sort of thing. But by doing that, you'd create room for a potential raised walkway where someone could walk around. You could do laps during the game, so you can get some exercise in. You can talk to your friend. You don't have to watch every pitch if you're not interested in that, or if you want to just take a break in the 7th inning stretch or whatever it may be. Maybe that makes it more attractive to more people than it would normally go to a game. Something like the grandstand being replaced. Right now, it's just an empty area. There'll be some temporary seating this baseball season, but in the future, we'd like to construct an elevated platform, covered platform that could be, maybe some tables and chairs, like stools, that sort of thing, as well as some box seats. So it'd be more of an active space. If you see a lot of major league ballparks nowadays, there are areas where you can stand and have a drink or eat some food. It's not so much your traditional bleachers at the game. And not only for baseball purposes, that could be rented out
Yeah.
buzz for other opportunities, other events.
I think it's a tourist, I think what Greg is saying, it could be a tourist draw. It can draw people into our parks and into the city of Oneonta. And I think that's part of the partnership here. And, I will say this about Gary Lang. Gary Lang can sell you something even if you don't want to buy it. I mean, the man knows how to draw people in. And he's the kind of partner that the city of Oneonta wants. He's enthusiastic and outgoing and all about the city of Oneonta, not just about Gary Lang. So, and he didn't pay me to say that. So, he's a good person, and so that's part of it. So.
Yeah, ultimately his success is the city's success at the Maskey Field.
Exactly.
But there's the bottom line, to Katie's point, is that the Outlaws
The money.
pay for a $1 million upgrade of the field. That's something that the city taxpayers are going to have to front the bill for if they decide it's worth it.
So in addition to that, and to Katie's point also, that space could be rented out similar to the pavilions for other activities that might, hopefully that revenue could come back into the city to help pay for the, all of the upgrades and, promote it for something more than just baseball. And I'm not quite sure how that worked between the Oneonta Outlaws and the city, but I'm sure that would be a bridge that we could, cross when the time comes. So it would be nice to be able to bring in other events. And I think Gary did a little bit of that prior to the pandemic. There were some concerts and few other activities. I don't recall all of them, but there were some.
Yeah, it'd be great to get live music back down there.
Yes, it would, Libby.
Yeah.
It would.
I think he did a couple rodeos too.
Yes.
If we can branch out beyond rodeos, that'd be great.
Well, and he tried very hard to, until the pandemic, to bring that big dog park organization that left Norwich into Demoski Field. And I think down the road, a year or two, that will be a big event. When I was younger, 100 years ago, that was an event that did 3 days in Mueller Park. And there were probably, there were thousands of people there. There were probably, I don't know, probably 50 different dog breeders there showing their dogs. And that was a big attraction. Gary was all about trying to bring that back and really, I think, stepped out of his comfort zone a little bit. And, but he's all about it. So, I think he's willing to branch out a little bit and draw some other events.
Great.
Yes, I'm 101 years older than, or 1 year older than the 100 that Lou and I are, but I do recall the RV during that 3-day event. The people stayed, they brought their RVs, and it looked like an RV park in the park, and with all their different dogs, and people were able to go around and look at all the dogs. It was quite an event. It was was that the Del Otsego Kennel Club?
Yes, and but it was an even bigger. It was that club that brought them, but it was like a Northeast regional thing.
Yes.
So it was huge.
It certainly was, and well attended. Thank you. Any other questions for Greg?
My question on what is the outdoor fitness center down that's scheduled for 2025? Is that like the fitness trail they used to have, or?
I'll let Lou jump in on that. She knows more, did some more research than me on that.
Well, the outdoor fitness center, and we've actually gotten a quote from a company who specializes in that. It's an adult workout center. It has all kinds of adult outdoor equipment that can be sustained in this kind of a climate. And basically it's a place where people can work out in the gym, but be outside.
Is it like the trail, or is it like a playground?
It's like an adult playground. It's got fitness equipment, cardio equipment, lifting equipment.
Great.
It's pretty incredible. Expensive, but very nice.
I think Linda Drake had the idea that it would be aimed at
Yes.
sort of seniors and maybe people who aren't quite as mobile, but still want to get outside and move around.
Right.
Great.
Very
I'd
good.
love to see if you've got some artist renderings or a plan. I'd love to see them.
Well, I have a plan. It's 2 or 3 years old now, and it's just a wish list of things. And what I did when I asked for the plan is I asked them for things that would be senior appropriate, things that would be younger people appropriate,
Mhm.
and things that would be for cardio and things that would be for strength. So
Okay.
they combine those 4 elements in it, and I'd be happy to share it with the group.
Yes, please.
So,
Japan has several of those types of things, and it was quite fun to go. I would use one of them specifically to crack my back. So yeah.
yeah, they're pretty amazing. They're, it's another thing on our wish list. So I do want to say a couple things about the things that have already been done by the city. I know they were done, some of them back as far as 2019, but I don't know how familiar everyone is with Wilber Park, but Wilber Park by the tennis courts that have now been resurfaced. That's another great project that the city has done, and it's beautiful there. The Candy Shack, which was basically an old storage shed. It used to be, it was called the Candy Shack because it used to be a concession stand. And, but it turned into just an old storage shed. And the city refurbished the inside of that and the outside of that. And it is now a great area meeting space for the YMCA's adventure program that happens in the summertime. And it's just a great spot. So the city really has taken, this to heart to make the parks more accommodating. That project, the community gardens, the project, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the community gardens, which is down off of River Street. The name of the street leaves me right now. Greg, can you think of it?
Wilcox Ave.
Wilcox Avenue, thank you. The group that was involved in that worked with our grant writer, Judy, who just has done, that's not her official title. Her official title is
The community development.
Director.
Thank you. And she did a remarkable job of getting a grant for that space. And I don't know if you've had a chance to go down there, but they've made this area so much more accommodating for physically challenged individuals can now garden there. And these are all things that the city has really taken the initiative on, making 8 pickleball courts in Neowell Park. I mean, that is going to be, when we finally do get all open and everything's going strong, that's going to be a big hub. You're going to see a lot of people there, not just seniors, but a lot of people taking part in those pickleball groups. So, I mean, I can't say enough things about what the city has done so far. So this list, it kind of looks like maybe this is never going to happen, but the city is going down, checking off this list. They're really striving to do this stuff. So the Hodges Pond is going to be upgraded this year. That's going to be a big improvement for, we have 2 fishing things for youth in the summertime. We're partnering with the DEC. We're going to have some even more fishing days, 5 or 6 more fishing days in the park. I don't know that that's going to happen this year because we're going to have to restock our fish, and it may not be suitable to do that this year, but I think in 2022 that's going to happen for sure. So anyway, just to add a little more conversation to these points. So
I do have a question, maybe between Katie and Greg, you might have an answer or not. With the downtown revitalization initiative, did any of that funding, is the parks or recreation, maybe the parks, maybe not so much recreation, parks, were they included in part of that, or were we not really considered downtown?
Yeah, not really. There
Okay,
aren't any park specific projects in the DRI.
so when, go ahead. Greg.
Projects, there's a downtown improvement fund, which you've heard some things about, some grants being awarded to different businesses on Main Street in that area. There's the transit hub and projects and the parking garage renovations, and there's Market Street itself, streetscape improvements, such as like planting trees and new extending the sidewalk where it isn't now, and decorative lighting, that sort of thing.
Okay.
On Market Street. And there's what they're calling the Mueller Plaza Passageway, which is where Mueller Plaza is. You know where that gate is? It's always
Sure. Yes.
Clarion doesn't technically own. That'll be eventually opened up and improved a little bit. It won't take a whole lot. There's already a sidewalk there. But that'll just be another pathway. With the whole purpose of the DRI being to try to spur private development, but also try to improve the connections between Main Street and Market Street. So
Yes, the connection between those two.
it kind of is restricted to Main and Market area for the most part.
Okay. So I think there might have been talk at one time of maybe changing or it just might have been an idea of changing the entrance into Mueller Park. Is that still on a possibility, or is that just something that was talked about and we're not follow through? I'm not sure, because that would really change a lot of what we do with Mueller Park. And I'm not even sure how that would even work, and I would think that would be fairly costly as well.
Yeah, it's not a great. There's no great option because the existing entrance off of Market Street, the city actually had a grant several years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
And gave that back because the improvements that were going to be resulting from that would require an additional city investment above the grant amount, significant, a couple $100,000. And all you'd really end up with would be a sidewalk and a curb and not much visual improvement, which was the goal. There's not much right-of-way room there. Obviously, you have on one side, you have the Marabito fuel tanks in the parking lot. There's not much you can do with that aesthetically pleasing. And the big problem was the railroad. Norfolk Southern, which bought CP Rail, was very cooperative. And with CP Rail had plans to upgrade the intersection, the crossing anyway, and were willing to work with us and time the projects together, where Norfolk Southern basically told the city we were going to have to pay to upgrade the crossing, several $100,000 just to minor modification for the sidewalk through there. So it kind of hit some hurdles. We tripped on. So I think there's still opportunities in the future. That's why at one point we were investigating the possibility of closing that entrance.
Yes.
Regular traffic, or possibly changing it to one way or something. I still think there's some reason to investigate that further, but that hit some opposition from the public. So as it stands, there's no good option there to make it really a beautiful park entrance.
Right, it's limited in scope of what really can be done there.
Yeah.
But the good news is we do have that walkway on the right-hand side, and that keeps people typically out of the path of oncoming cars when they use it. But I think people are so used to walking through there that the road seems to be the sidewalk as well. But we do have that, and that was an improvement. I can't remember when that was done, but I'm glad that is there. That's safe for people crossing. Any other comments, questions for Greg? Anything else? I think we're near adjournment.
I do have one thing, Carolyn.
Sure.
I was, I worked with these dates and these things. I do want us to, just for future, consider moving the permanent bandstand for Wilber Park. I don't like the year it's at. I'd like it to see it moved up because I think our bandstand is going to be exhausted sooner than later. And so Greg's kind of looking at me like I have 5 heads, but it's something that I really will push for with this group to move that forward. And I
No,
also
wasn't
think
doing
it's
that one.
also,
I was just looking to see where it was in the plan.
it's some, yeah, it's at, I think 2026. And I think it really needs to be moved forward. So anyway, just something else I'm going to add in there. And I do want to go on the record apologizing. I should have said community development person, Judy Pangman. I should have said her whole name when I mentioned her before. So I apologize for that. She's wonderful. So.
Okay, thank you.
Lou, I have a quick question with regard to construction of a permanent bandstand. Where, and I'm sorry, this is probably on the master plan, but where, I don't have it in front of me. Like, where would you put that?
Well, I think where it was determined, the master plan is right about where the, we set up the one that's the existing right now, near the Statue of Liberty area in that area, where that
Okay.
piece of concrete is. It's actually closer to the pond than that, but we talked about several different locations, but that's where it is in the master plan. You know, we talked about it on Field 5 as well. We talked about it in some other areas, but who knows? I'm not sure. Greg, do you have an opinion on that, or?
Oh, not really. Not a strong one. I think the 2 areas we talked about were the one in the master plan, like you said, and then Field 5. And the reason we talked about Field 5, I remember when O-Fest was on Field 5. I'm not sure why it moved to the softball fields closer to the highway at one point. But it seemed like Field 5 was a good area for a larger event.
I think we talked about Field 5 too because of the pit run. That's a place where the pit run does all of their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would be a great spot for it, but you know, that's just my 2 cents.
Cool, thanks.
All right.
Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. I see Katie has a cat on her shoulder and I have one over here. And Lou's dogs are very quiet this evening.
My husband's entertaining her.
Yeah, should have asked mine to do the same with when he has the dog. Okay, if there's nothing else at this point, I think we can make a motion to adjourn. Who would like to?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, so Beth and second, Brett?
Libby.
Libby, okay.
And
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a nice evening.
Take care.
All
Good
right.
night.
Long, everyone.